Everywhere I go, the children rise. Everywhere I go, the children rise. I saw them just rise up, the wicked run. I saw them just rise up, the wicked run. Equal rights and justice, when I defend, we won't run away. Run away, run away, run away, run away. We won't run away. Run away, run away, run away, run away. If you go in America, if you go in Canada, if you go in Africa, I saw them just rise up, the wicked run. I saw them just rise up, the wicked run. I saw them just rise up, the wicked run. We won't run away. Run away, run away, run away, run away. We won't run away. Run away, run away, run away, run away.
Shalom and blessings to all my brothers and sisters, my kinsmen, according to the flesh, who are Israelites, to whom pertain the adoption and the glory and the covenants and the giving of the law and the service of Elohim and the promises, whose are the fathers, and of whom as concerning the flesh our Mashiach came, who is over all, Elohim blessed forever and ever. Hallelujah and amen. I want to say shalom to everybody. Hope everybody had a blessed morning, blessed afternoon, and having a blessed evening. Tonight in this fellowship, I'm gonna keep it fairly simple, and what we're gonna do is we're gonna lift up our Mashiach tonight. Where Mashiach be lifted up, it says he'll draw all men. And so that's what we're gonna do tonight. Since this is my first official live stream, I want to thank the brothers over at the Side of the Earth, Brother Bunya, for putting together the work for us. So that's what we're gonna do. Real quick, I want to give all praises to the Most High. I want to thank him for allowing us to see another day, allowing us to come together in fellowship once again. I want to say shalom and blessings to the chat, to my sister Paula Lawrence. Shalom and blessings to you. And our brother Ralph out there in Australia. Hope y'all doing well. Hope y'all safe. Nisi Lewis, my love, shalom to you. Sister Keisha, shalom to you. Hope you're doing well today. Hope you had a blessed day. Got my brother Hal Goodwin. Shalom to you, bro. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing better. Hope you had a blessed day. Brother Calvin Andrews, shalom and blessings to you. Hope everybody's doing well. Real quick, to get into our opening passage, I'll be reading from the book of Psalms, the 54th chapter. All right, real quick Psalm just to open up. Psalms chapter 54 says, "Save me, O Elohim, by thy name, and judge me by thy strength. Hear my prayer, O Elohim, and give ear to the words of my mouth. For strangers are risen up against me, and oppressors seek after my soul. They have not set Elohim before them. Selah. Behold, Elohim is mine helper. Adonai is with them that uphold my soul. He shall reward evil unto mine enemies. Cut them off in thy truth. I will freely sacrifice unto thee. I will praise thy name, O Yahuwah, for it is good. For he hath delivered me out of all trouble, and mine eye had seen his desire upon mine enemies." Hallelujah. All praises to the Most High for Psalms chapter 54, dealing with a lot of what we see happening with our enemies and a lot of the plans that they have stirred up a lot of things we don't fully understand, but we are aware nonetheless that the Most High is working. He's moving on our behalf against our enemies, and it's for our good, and it's so that his word can be fulfilled. Shalom, observant, deprogrammed. Hope you had a blessed day. Elise, knew me, shalom and blessings. Glad to see you. Hope you had a blessed day. Glad you could join in, Brother Yash. What's going on, bro? Hope you had a blessed day. Hope you're doing well. I'm gonna put the link in there after a while. Beth Nichols, shalom and blessings to you. Hope all is well. All right. So, Psalms 54, just some encouragement for the family. Real quick, I want to give some special shout outs to the Salt of the Earth family. My brothers at the Salt of the Earth, I want to say shalom and blessings to them. Brother Bunya, Brother Cleo, Brother Kadar, as well as Brother Yash, Brother Hal, all the brothers, even in the chat, shalom and blessings. I want to say shalom to our brother over there at Jacob's People, Brother Shofar. Shalom and blessings to him. Hope all is well. So we're going to be dealing with, like I said, lifting up the Mashiach. I'm going to be dealing with some passages concerning that and things that inspire me, and hopefully it inspires the whole family concerning the Most High and who our Redeemer is, because we living in a time of redemption for our people. And so instead of focusing on the enemy and the moves that the enemy is making, the book of Esdras tells us to inquire not how the wicked shall be damned, but inquire how the righteous shall be saved. We're not going to be unaware to the most of our ability and to the best of our ability of what our enemies are doing, and we know that it's only by the grace of the Most High that we can really see what we can see and understand what we can understand. But what we can really focus on and know is the things that the Most High has determined for us in his word, and that's the things that we're going to focus on, and the redemption that he promised for us and who that's through. So I want to focus on that today. And like I said, hopefully that'll encourage the family. But real quick, let's take a break. When I come back, we're going to get into some quick biblical fun fact. We're going to get into a few news and events, things that's happening around us in our nation and around the world, and in some cases in our direct environments. Then we're going to get another passage of hope and encouragement for the people. All right, and then we're going to get into our discussion. I want to thank everybody for joining in. Hope everybody had a blessed day. Sit tight. I'll be right back. Shalom. Shalom, shalom. Real quick, brothers and sisters, Wednesday nights, Kingdom Conversations, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, 11 to 10 p.m. Eastern, depending on where you are, hosted by Brother Cleo. That's a real good platform, for us to gather and fellowship. Another platform for that, dealing with real topics, things that encourage our people, things that motivate our people. So, I'm sure most of the family is aware of that, but for those who are not, and for those who may catch this on the playback, Kingdom Conversations, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. All right. So now, a biblical fun fact. All right. Who in the audience, by pressing a 1, know what a talisman is? A talisman, spelled Talisman. If you're aware of what that is, press 1 in the chat. And while y'all doing that, I'm going to what I usually do. All right, I'm gonna look it up. I see some 1s. All right, talisman. Let's get a definition. Let's see what this says. It says a talisman is any object described with religious or magical powers intended to protect, heal, harm individuals or for whom they are made. Talismans are often portable objects carried on someone in a variety of ways, but can also be installed permanently in architecture. All right. It says talismans are often portable objects carried on someone in a variety of ways, meaning a necklace or anything like that. But it says it can also be installed permanently in architecture. That's the part I want to focus on right here. All right. It can be installed permanently in architecture. Now let's get some more. It says an object typically inscribed, ring, or stone that is thought to have magic powers or to bring good luck. All right. It says, what is another word for talisman? It is essentially another name for talisman, an amulet. Amulet originates in a Latin word amuletum and and can be defined as a lucky charm that has magical inscriptions and which has been consecrated through incantation. All right. That's like when people summon spirits, all right, to inhabit objects. And this is what it's talking about. People who wear like lucky charms and things like that they consider to be good luck. These things have been prayed over and spirits have been invoked into some of these things. So just, some things to keep in mind. It can also be permanently installed in architecture. All right. So now, remember we talked a little bit a few days ago about the reading that I want to have, Most High willing, in the morning with the history of the Apostle Paul, get more in detail with that. And what I want to do right now is sort of give a sample of that. All right. This is an excerpt from the history that we're going to read dealing with the Apostle Paul in one of the cities that he traveled to. Upon entering into this city in Carthage, in order to enter the city, you had to walk past a talisman. All right. And what this talisman did upon entering the city, it would let the people of the city know whether a stranger was entering the city or not. And if a stranger entered the city, then the people of the city would pretty much kill or harm the stranger that came into their city. All right, kind of sound like something we know here. Some of the neighborhoods and ghettos and stuff you can't go to if you're not from. All right, it says, the talisman of the city and its terrible power. It says, now there was a statue on the wall of the city with a talisman, and it was the guardian of the city. And whensoever the talisman saw a stranger coming into the city, it used to cry out with a loud voice, saying, behold, a stranger cometh unto you. And when the men of the city heard these words from the talisman, they used to go out and slay the stranger who was coming into their city. For their Torah, or their law, was not to allow a stranger to enter into their city. Now, when I had arrived in the stream or the lake, the talisman cried out in a language of the city, saying, behold, a stranger hath come unto you. And the men of the city heard the words of the talisman, for they were at that time gathered for the festival on that day, and their king and his army came to seek me. So they were having a festival. And while they were having a festival, the Apostle Paul entered into their city, and that talisman called them out, and the people of the city heard it. All right. Verse 12, it says, and when I saw them from afar off, I fled and went into the caves, which I found in the mountain by the sea, by the side of the sea. And in the cave wherein I was, foxes and jackals had taken refuge. And when I had entered therein, I wept with a great weeping. And hunger and thirst afflicted me sorely, for at that time hunger and famine and great heat were in the land. So when the talisman called him out, he had to run away from the people, and he went into a cave where foxes and jackals were living. He was hungry and thirsty, all right, with no food, no water in there. And it says, and I dwelt in the cave until the night, when I went out to drink water from the lake. And I stood up and prayed before our Adonai Yehoshua HaMashiach, the son of the living Elohim. Now when the morning had come, I had gone forth from the cave. That talisman again cried out with a loud voice, like unto that of thunder, and proclaimed my coming. And when that talisman cried out, it was customary for the waves of the lake to rise up, to become greatly agitated, even like the waves of the Red Sea. And the people of the city went forth to come unto me, and when I saw them, I fled again to the cave, and I sat therein for a second day. Then, having entered therein by reason of my fear, I hid myself in the den wherein the foxes live, and I besought Elohim, Mashiach, and made supplication unto him. And I took refuge in thy prayer, O Peter, thou master, and in the prayers of thy brethren, and of our pure lady, the mother of the light, the whole night long. So just an excerpt dealing with when the Apostle Paul entered into a city. And upon entering this city, there was a talisman in the city that would call out any strangers that was entering into the city, and those strangers would be killed. All right. And so when I first read that, I was kind of intrigued by that, because you wouldn't think that these types of things were around back then, you know. And these talismans kind of remind me of modern day technology. Like, for instance, where my wife and I live, we have 2 Kroger grocery stores. You know, we have one right close to where we live, right up the road. Then you have one in the main road. You know, that's the one everybody has access to. It's on the main busy road. And we would go to that one sometimes, you know, but it never failed. Every time we go in and come out, even with all of our stuff, the little detectors go off at the door. And I told my wife these exact words. I said, babe, they got some nigga detectors in this Kroger's. Watch. Every time we come in here, we pay for our stuff and leave, that thing go off, and it never failed every time. And we haven't been to that Kroger's in a while, you know, but I'm pretty sure that if we was to go again, it'll happen again, because it never failed. But it's like, you know, a talisman, a thing that has an incantation on it, you know, it's been prayed over, you know, and this thing could actually detect strangers entering into their city. So what kind of technology, or what kind of, you know, science were they dealing with back then that we're not aware of? Oh, so the talisman. All right. Like I said, we're going to get more into this once we examine the history of our great forefather and great apostle, the Apostle Paul. All right, so that's the talisman. Biblical fun fact of the day. I'm sure our brother Big Red will like that one. You know, he's really into that kind of stuff. If you haven't seen the work we did dealing with the biblical fun facts, feel free to go back and check that out. But now let's get into some news and different things that's happened around us. But before we do that, give me a second. I thought I had this pulled up already. Give me a second. Okay. So now we're gonna get into some news and different things that's happening. But before we do, this is a fair use disclaimer. This site is for educational purposes only. Fair use. Copyright disclaimer under Section 107 of the Copyright Act of 1976. Allowance is made for fair use for purposes such as criticism, comment, news, reporting, teaching, scholarship, education, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. All right. Fair use disclaimer. So on that note, let's get into some criticism, some of that other good stuff we talked about. And for that, I want to go to my private Facebook page. This is where I keep a lot of news and different things. This is a clip. Michael Jackson, he said, the press is manipulating everything that's been happening. They do not tell the truth. They are lying. They manipulate our history books. The history books are not true. It's a lie. The history books are lying. You need to know that. You must know that. All right. The history books are lying. Now, how do we know the Bible is true? We know the Bible is history. But how do we know the Bible is true? Is because the powers that be, or the people who are in control, they don't classify the Bible as history, at least not to the followers of the mainstream religions. Most of the followers of these mainstream religions don't see the Bible as history. Excuse me. So the history books are lying. You have a lot of people who rely on history books to disprove the Bible. All right. But the history books are lying. All right. So now, first thing I wanted to get into was let me find it here. I want to play this video real quick.
Christianity.
This is dealing with mainstream Christianity, the doctrines of the Nicolaitans. All right, I really like this video. A couple of minutes long. Let's check it out.
Mainstream Christianity is teaching you a doctrine that Christ hates. The doctrines that you are all being taught is the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, and it is mentioned here in Revelation chapter 2, where Christ said that he hates their deeds and their doctrine. So let's dig into who the Nicolaitans are and what was their doctrine. This is Theopedia.org. The doctrine of the Nicolaitans appears to have been a form of Antinomianism. What is Antinomianism? Antinomianism comes from the Greek meaning lawless. In Christian theology, it is a pejorative term for the teaching that Christians are under no obligation to obey the laws of ethics or morality, which is the laws of God. Some say the Mosaic law, quote unquote. Antinomianism, which makes the fatal mistake that man can freely partake in sin because the law of God is no longer binding. Nicolaitans' teachings that the deeds of the flesh had no effect upon the health of the soul and consequently no relation to salvation. Today, the doctrine is now largely taught that the gospel of Christ has made God's laws of no effect. But this is the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which is condemned in the book of Revelations. If you don't think this information is legit, the references are pulled from Irenaeus. Here's Irenaeus' work down there. Now you tell me if that's not legit. To sum it all up, churches are teaching Christians to break God's law, and this is the doctrine of the Nicolaitans. The church teaches that you can eat unclean animals such as the swine, which is the pig, and shellfish such as shrimp, crab, lobster, anything with no fins. They say you can eat that. They also say you can eat unclean birds like duck. Honestly, a lot of these churches are not teaching enough of what you cannot do according to the Bible. And that is why you are seeing black men who are Hebrew Israelites by ethnicity and nationality and Christian by faith teaching the Bible on the street corners because they are teaching the way it's supposed to be taught. They are teaching to read the Bible for yourself. Christ told us to keep the laws, period. Read Matthew chapter 5, verse 17 through 19 when you get a chance. If you are Christian, Catholic, Lutheran, Jehovah's Witness, if you just fall under that umbrella of Christendom, you do not want to end up like Matthew chapter 7, verse 22 to 23. Just remember that men that are the head of the church like this, and this guy, him too, this man right here, and you can't leave him out. They are all telling their churchgoers not to follow God's law. And that is the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, and Christ hates it. The whole duty of man is to keep the commandments. These are the churches of Babylon. And like Revelation 18:4 said, come out of my people. Shalom.
Shalom. You know, ironically, doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which is the doctrine of lawlessness, is oftentimes justified through the writings of our Apostle Paul. And so that's one of the reasons I want to get into that history, dealing with that. Once again, St. Paul, the history, contendings, and martyrdom. Shabbat morning, tomorrow morning, 7 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 to 9 a.m. Eastern, depending on where you are. All right. Brothers and sisters, feel free to join in with that. We're going to put it up on the screen and read through it and examine it, see what we can come up with. All right. So now what I want to show now is a video dealing with a lot of our people who have taken the you know what. All right.
Without care, yeah, I was out of touch. But it wasn't because I didn't know enough. I just knew too much. Ooh.
This is a video of people all over the world who have taken the you know what and have ended up with career-ending conditions or either losing their lives altogether. All right. And so just to run that back briefly, for people who are not sure and uncertain, just know that making this move in essence is going against the Most High, because the Most High's intention is to bring down the nations. And everybody who's making this move, their intent is to maintain or to get things back to normal. So if you straddling the fence, and not sure, just keep that in mind, So I just wanted to touch on that briefly. We all know about that. Next, I want to play a video.
This is the world's first reusable.
Hold on one second. This is a video that's wait a minute. Okay, I gotta do it like this. Hold on one second. Okay, this video here is dealing with developing storms on the East Coast for our brothers and sisters on the East Coast living in those areas. Hopefully things are safe now. This is developing story since yesterday. All right, so let's check this out.
Major nor'easter, there could be heavy snow on the way from North Carolina to Massachusetts. Ginger has the latest expected track of the storm. Good morning, Ginger.
Robin, good morning to you. I'm going to go with the old school 5 W's on this, the who, what, when, where, why. So let's start with who. Go into the maps here. We've got winter storm watches from Nags Head, North Carolina, right through Lawrence, Massachusetts. We're going to skip over what, because I got to show you that in a bit. But the where and when, right? That's important. And so we'll time it out for you. It's Friday night through Saturday when the bulk of the impacts start. And it's going to be coastal. That's when the heaviest snow comes in. It's really after midnight into the early morning hours of Saturday. If you have travel on Saturday up to Boston, this could be a problem. By Saturday night, it starts to sneak off into the ocean and into Maine. Now you're looking at the snowfall forecast. So what? We've got more than a half foot possible for many places. And the heaviest, though, looks like, Robin, it'll be Rehoboth Beach all the way up through the Cape. Don't forget, there's another what? And that is the wind. Big time gusts up to 60 miles per hour.
Hi, everyone.
Brother Calvin said it's about to go down in Virginia. All right, so we're going to keep our brothers and sisters on the East Coast in prayer. May the Most High look over those who are His chosen in this situation. We know a lot of different things are going on right now. So the most we can do is be in prayer and hope the Most High keep us sustained through it all. All right, so next thing, we all know about the developments with the Russian army in Ukraine. All right, I want to play something real quick on that. If you haven't seen Teo Ministries, they did a real good video the other day dealing with this too, you know, showing how World War III is being set. The stage for that is pretty much being set. And the second Exodus, you know, so I'm sure brothers and sisters caught that, but if you haven't, you know, go check that out. Real good work on that. But let's check this out.
On the crisis with Russia over Ukraine, the U.S. delivering a formal written response to Russian demands as it takes measures to bolster NATO allies and Ukraine's military. Russia's foreign minister, Sergei Lavrov, responding, saying there is no positive reaction on the main issue of this document, but there are grounds on other issues to keep on talking. More than 100,000 Russian troops massed around Ukraine's borders right now, while Russia's defense ministry releasing more videos showing warships taking part in what it says are just drills in the Black Sea. Despite Russian denials, America's chief negotiator in talks right now with Russia, warning of the possibility of an imminent Russian attack. Ian Panel joining me live from Ukraine, along with our State Department reporter Connor Finnegan. Ian, let's start with you. It seems like we're hearing mixed messages here. Some officials say that invasion could be imminent. Others say if it happens, it could be a week or more away. Where's the disconnect, and what do you know?
Yeah, I think it's fair to say that Washington is certainly on a different step to the Ukrainian government, and I think to some other governments in the region who perhaps feel that the crisis is less prescient. The sense you get here in Ukraine is, yes, of course, they're aware that they're under pressure. They know that they're surrounded on at least 2 to 3 fronts by Russian troops, and they know, and they certainly think, that the Kremlin has malign intent. But what they're saying is they don't think they're quite in position to be able to launch a full-scale invasion at this point. That's not what we're hearing from Washington, who believes that that absolutely could happen. I think one of the factors here is clearly the Ukrainians have got used to the threat. You know, for them, I spoke to the foreign minister yesterday. He made the point that we were invaded in 2014. We're not about to be invaded. We already have been when Russia annexed Crimea, when it backed separatists in the east of the country, in the Donbass. Essentially, Russia moved into the country. It has influence. It has troops on the ground in parts of Ukraine. And so, as far as they're concerned, this is more of the same, even though the tempo has increased. I think their more immediate concern is not necessarily of a military intervention, but attempts to try and sow discord and chaos in the country. If you talk to Ukrainians, certainly over the last few weeks, generally they haven't been that bothered, but now you're seeing increasing signs of certainly concern.
All right, so we see the tension going on between Russia and Ukraine. You know, a lot of talk about Russia wanting to take over Ukraine, the U.S. getting involved, you know. So you have that going on, you know, the tension going on there. And at the same time, here in the U.S., let's look at some of the moves the U.S. is making right now. All right. If I would have continued playing that video we just played, the guy, he said that they're planning an invasion around February. All right. Russia, they're planning to invade around February, and that the attack may be imminent. The attack is ranged from being imminent all the way up to that point in February. All right. And meanwhile, while that's going on, the United States is making certain moves. Let's look at the moves that the U.S. is making. All right, give me a second. All right, so now, while tension is rising, Russia and Ukraine, World War III is pretty much being set. You have America, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all of these nations involved. All right. Wait a minute. Give me a second. Got all these nations involved. All right. Now, while that's going on, let's look at what's happening in the U.S.
In the making. Good evening, and thank you for joining us. It's history in the making as President Biden vows to make good on his campaign pledge to nominate the first Black woman to the Supreme Court. If you look back, of the 115 justices, all but 7 have been white men. The president said today he will name his choice to replace Justice Stephen Breyer by the end of February. Breyer today formally handed in his letter of resignation to the president and will step down at the end of the court's current term this summer. There is already a short list of potential candidates to fill the seat, and the biggest battle in the confirmation process may be within the Democratic Party before a nominee is even announced. CBS's Ed O'Keefe joins us now from the White House. Good evening, Ed.
Good evening, Nora. The president said today he plans to make his choice by the end of February. But as a former chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee and a vice president who once helped interview Supreme Court nominees,
he said the president said he plans to make his decision by the end of February. You know, they don't have a decision on exactly who it's going to be, but they know that they want it to be a Black woman in the Supreme Court. All right. By the end of February. Meanwhile, Russia, according to what we just heard, said that the attack that they plan to make ranges from imminent to around February. All right, so keep that in mind.
Good evening, Nora. The president said today he plans to make his choice by the end of February. But as a former chairman of the Senate Judiciary Committee and a vice president who once helped interview Supreme Court nominees, he's been preparing for this moment for decades. President Biden today, flanked by retiring Supreme Court Justice Stephen Breyer, says he's already reviewing potential choices to succeed him.
The person I will nominate will be someone with extraordinary qualifications, character, experience, and integrity. And that person will be the first Black woman ever nominated to the United States Supreme Court. It's long overdue in my view.
CBS News has learned top contenders include federal appeals court judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, a Harvard Law School graduate and former clerk for Breyer, who spoke about that experience in 2017.
It was an incredible experience just to be in the room while the justice grappled with some of the most difficult and consequential legal issues of the day.
Another candidate, California Supreme Court Justice Leandra Kruger, a Yale Law School graduate, placed on the court with the help of then California Attorney General Kamala Harris. And federal judge Michelle Childs, a University of South Carolina Law School graduate, backed by the state's senior Congressman Jim Clyburn, who said a non-Ivy League background would be refreshing.
I am very, very concerned that we pick on this elitist kind of atmosphere when we pretend that the only way you can demonstrate, let's say, qualifications is to go to certain schools.
Celebrating Justice Breyer today, the president reminisced about chairing his confirmation hearing in 1994, saying he had high hopes then.
And he's exceeded those hopes in every possible way.
Breyer says he's stepping down optimistic about the future of what he called the American experiment.
My grandchildren and their children, they'll determine whether the experiment still works. And of course, I'm an optimist, and I'm pretty sure it will.
So that old dude happy to get up out of there. He ready. And notice the timing. All right. Russia, China, Iran, Russia moving in on Ukraine. So while they're doing that, the other nations setting the stage, we see that all of the leaders of this nation are falling back, little by little. And they're pretty much putting scapegoats, like, who was that? My Soldier Sound. So they looking at scapegoats. They looking for people to brace themselves. Brother Rio said, let the pawns go first. All right, I'm showing all this because I want to show y'all something that I have. This is some information that I downloaded some months back dealing with what we're seeing now. All right, so you see the plays that's happening with Russia, Ukraine. You see America is appointing its first Black woman into the Supreme Court. All right, now while that's happening, let's look at what else is happening. While that's going on, while President Biden has vowed to put the first Black woman in the Supreme Court, let's look at what else is going on. All right. Give me a second. This thing takes a while to load. All right, you can see that the article there dealing with the first Black female general, Marine general. All right. Let me this thing takes a second to load. Once it loads, then I'm gonna share my screen. Okay, here we go. Now let's look at who's on top of this. President Trump has nominated the first African American woman for promotion to general, all right, in the military. Let's check this out.
During my campaign for president, whether it's cutting job-killing regulations,
So Russia is moving in on Ukraine. All right. We see China is butting heads back and forth with the US. You got Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, all in contention for who's gonna be the next superpower, while America is the current superpower. Where really, in a lot of ways, China is. It just haven't been manifest yet. So you got all these nations competing for the top spot. They're all working together just for the purpose of keeping us out of the playing field. Right, but they are really against each other. But they work together to protect certain interests. All this is going on in the United States. It's put this first Black woman in the Supreme Court and this first Black woman as a general, all right, over the U.S. Marines. Now, this ain't nothing against our sisters at all. I'm for our sisters being virtuous and doing virtuous things. But what I am against is our sisters being on the front line of a nation that the Most High is bringing judgment and condemnation on. Now, I said I had something for you. This is what I have. Give me a second. All right, let's open this. I downloaded this some months back. All right. I'll start this from the top. It says, America's military traitor elites. What's happening within the top leadership of our military is sabotage by knowing traitors and unwitting, useful idiots. The rest of the brass are cowards who are counting down their days until retirement. Only the percentages of each category are up to date. So you see all these old people, retiring and doing it happily and willfully, and everything is happening according to a schedule. All right. And ironically, the nation is falling. We know prophecy is being fulfilled. And now they're giving not only women, but just our women in particular, the empowerment to be in the forefront whenever these other nations come to American soil. All right, who's going to be there? We all know that prophecy said that the men are going to cower. They're not going to be one to fight. So all you're going to have is a bunch of Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts with guns in the army because of whatever benefit or incentive, but they not hungry like these other dudes are. They not animals like these other dudes are. Among the witting traitors, their mutual goal is to render the U.S. military combat ineffective, with China, Russia, and Iran, who will each attack their regional targets in the same month in order to maximize their combined effect and minimize the potential U.S. response. So whatever they're going to do, they're working together, China, Russia, Iran, North Korea, and they're going to do it, it says, in the same month. All right. So now, how ironic is it? And I'm not saying this is, what we're looking at, but we know in Revelations 18, it says that the judgment of Babylon shall come in 1 hour. In 1 hour, Babylon, the judgment is going to come on Babylon. So, let me see. All right. So, they want to render the U.S. military ineffective as possible. All right. And minimize the potential response, meaning when this happens, this is going to devastate people. Minimizing the response is possibly saying that there'll be no recovery from this. The unstated but very clear intention of these traitors is to destroy the USA as a global military superpower, which they believe is the last obstacle in their long-planned road to globalism, aka communism, the Great Reset. One clear proof of this intention is that even after the Fitzgerald and McCain collision, their very highest priority, now undertaken with feverish urgency, is placing woke psychopaths in critical leadership positions. Merit and competence be damned. So this is why you seeing this quote unquote woke movement. You seeing all these quote unquote woke people being put in the forefront and riling the people up and really taking their attention off what's going on. Because everybody's thinking that America is going back to normal. whole while you got traitors in the top that's orchestrating all of this, putting money behind these different groups, these civil rights groups, Black Lives Matter and feminist movement groups and all that. These groups are funded, and it's all part of their game plan. He said, if U.S. warships and overseas military bases are destroyed in conventional missile attacks, so much the better from the perspective of these elite traitors. The installed globalist puppets Biden and Harris will declare the military actions undertaken by China and Russia and Iran to be fates accomplished, and they will urge Americans to accept the new global order. Didn't President Biden just pretty much leave a bunch of stuff in Iraq once they pulled the soldiers out? You know, that's like a big no-no, man. It's like, you ever see movies where people had a gun, you know, one person had a gun, and, you know, he gets so scared, he dropped the gun. That's what Biden did. He dropped the gun. Now the enemy got it. He pretty much equipped them, you know, with weapons to come and do what the scriptures declare they're gonna do. Thereafter, the U.S. military will only need to be powerful enough to suppress and purge conservative nationalist patriots at home. In other words, they're gonna oppress the American people, performing this mission as their globalist duty. For this purpose, a military compromise of woke radicals, anti-white angry minorities, and sexual deviants will be perfectly suited, all right? They will conduct the purge of conservatives, aka white racists, domestic extremists, with self-righteous fury, all right? So, hold on. All right, yeah, that's pretty much what I have on that. I downloaded this some months back, you know, and I just kind of kept it because I thought this was interesting. I found this on a website. I actually forget the website it was on. I was looking at a video and the guy put the website up, and the website pretty much deals with a lot of events in terms of how things are shaping up with the nations and the wars and certain moves Iran is making, China and all of that. And it had this up there. And I thought that was ironic because that's what you see. A lot of people retiring, you know, dropping down from positions. And ironically, they're moving certain people into these positions. You know, why our people? You know, why try to give our people hope of remaining in this country and prospering when for 400 years you haven't even considered us full humans? Now all of a sudden, all hell is breaking loose. You know, the nations are surrounding America, and now, you know, we getting promoted, and you're seeing black people on being news anchors, and, you know, let's give black people a holiday, you know, National Hip Hop Day. You know, let's keep running game on them. You know, let's put Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. You know, we ain't gonna give them no $20 bills. We just gonna put a black face on it. You know, let's do that. Let's butter up some more biscuits for them. You know, and maybe that'll keep them away from seeking who they really are, seeking their culture, and seeking what the Most High got for them. You know, let's put some black women in these high military positions. You know, Goldman Sachs say he finna give black women 10 billion over the next 10 years. You know? Not black people. Let's do that. Meanwhile, it's like giving somebody a brand new Mercedes Benz, right? And I'm just using this for an example. It's like walking up to somebody and giving them a brand new Mercedes Benz and telling them, here, man, you can have this car. And the next day, the bill due, and he don't even know, and they come in to repossess it. That's what they doing to us. They playing us. But let's move on. Let's get into some this week in the Christian church. I got some church bloopers I want to share with the family. The first one I call this one here Reverend Chops. I'm finna show y'all Reverend Chops. All right. Hold on one sec. All right, here go Reverend Chops, y'all. Hold on.
Don't worry about your neighbor, cause your neighbor ain't worried about you. Oh, hold on. Sing something, y'all. Sing. That's it. They gonna sing something for y'all. Jesus, I thought I had polygrip on these. Y'all sing. How your teeth fell out.
Reverend Chops. I'm gonna run that back one more time. Hold on.
Don't worry about your neighbor, cause your neighbor ain't worried about you. Oh, hold on. Sing something, y'all. Sing. That's it. They gonna sing something for y'all. Jesus, I thought I had polygrip on these. Y'all sing. How your teeth fell out.
So Reverend Chops, he got the Holy Ghost and his teeth jumped out. I guess his teeth got the Holy Ghost. But whatever he was preaching, man, that was some serious preaching, boy. For real. I guess for some type of preaching you do, you gotta have real teeth, you know. He was trying to do real teeth preaching with fake teeth. All right, this one right here, I don't know what to call this one because it's so much going on in it. It's like hold on. All right, check this out, y'all. If you can, just try to look at everything going on. It's like 2 or 3 things, 3 or 4 things going on at once with this. Watch this. All right, so I don't know if y'all remember growing up having cable, this video channel, it used to be called The Box. And on The Box, you used to be able to call in and request videos. And you remember those old videos, like those them old Montel Jordan videos, Mary J. Blige videos, the dudes, like watch this, the dudes dancing, I guess the praise dancers. Don't they look like some background dancers for like Mary J. Blige or somebody? Montel Jordan. Like, look at that move. Man. Like, they trying to pull something. And then you got a pillow flying through the audience. You got somebody catching the Holy Ghost. You know, whoever the lady is catching the Holy Ghost right there. And you got the background dancers, then the preacher just throw a pillow in the audience. And my dude right here, if y'all can see my mouse, my dude got mad reflexes though. Like watch how he swoop. Look at that. Man, that dude got weave skills. You know, it's like dodging a straight right. Somebody throw a straight right at you and he just dodged it right at the last second. While this lady here just, you know, full of the Holy Ghost. Her wig about to flop off. Looked like her wig was the front of it. But y'all get it, man. That's this week in the church. I guess that's what I call that, you know, whenever I do a live. This week in the church, you know, this is what happened. But I'm gonna take a break, brothers and sisters. When we come back, before we do that, this is what I wanted to do. I want to share a passage of hope for our people. All right, before we go to break. When we come back, we're going to get into the Mashiach, lifting up the Mashiach. It says an apostrophe to Zion. He says, I will remember you, O Zion, for a blessing. With all my might, I love you. Your memory is to be blessed forever. Your hope is great, O Zion. Peace and your awaited salvation will come. Generation after generation shall dwell in you, and the generations of the pious shall be your ornament. They who desire the day of your salvation shall rejoice in the greatness of your glory. They shall be suckled on the fullness of your glory, and in your beautiful streets they shall make tinkling sounds. You shall remember the pious deeds of your prophets, and shall glorify yourself in the deeds of your pious ones. Cleanse violence from your midst. Lying and iniquity, may they be cut off from you. Your sons shall rejoice with you, and your cherished ones shall be joined to you. How much they have hoped in your salvation, and how much your perfect ones have mourned for you. Your hope, O Zion, shall not perish, and your expectation will not be forgotten. Is there a just man who has perished? Is there a man who has escaped his iniquity? Man is tried according to his way. Each is repaid according to his deeds. Your oppressors shall be cut off from around you, O Zion, and all who hate you shall be dispersed. Your praise is pleasing, O Zion. It rises up in all the world. Many times I will remember you for a blessing. I will bless you with all my heart. You shall attain to eternal righteousness and shall receive blessings from the noble. Take the vision which speaks of you and the dreams of the prophets requested for you. Be exalted and increase, O Zion. Praise the Most High, your Redeemer. May my soul rejoice in your glory. All praise to the Most High. Our passage of inspiration for our people, the apostrophe to Zion, once again assuring us that we are the Most High's chosen, that he hasn't forgotten us, he hasn't cast us away, and that our peace and awaited salvation will come. All right. Shalom and blessings. I want to thank everybody for joining in. I'm going to take a break. When we get back, we're going to get into lifting up the Mashiach in the scriptures today. All right. I want to thank everybody once again for chiming in. Don't forget about Kingdom Conversations Wednesday night, hosted by Brother Cleo, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, 10 p.m. Eastern. All right. hosted by Brother Cleo. And also don't forget about Most High Willing in the morning, 7 a.m., the reading of the history, contending, and martyrdom of St. Paul, 7 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Pacific, 8 to 9 p.m. Central, depending on where you are. All right. If I'm late a few minutes, don't charge it to me. Just calculate that CP time, you know. But Most High Willing, I'll be on time and get started with that because it's a lot I wanted to bring out with that. All right. So let's take a break and get back. We're going to get into it. Shalom, fam. Be right back. Shalom, shalom. I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Real quick, let's see. Hold on a second. All right. We're going to get into the topic for tonight, where Mashiach be lifted up. And give me a second. I'll try not to take up too much time. You know, we wanted to have a prayer later on, so I'm going to try to be brief with this. St. John's 12. And I want to start at verse 30. He says, Yehoshua answered and said, this voice came not because of me, but for your sakes. Speaking of the Father, speaking of the voice they heard from the angel. Now is the judgment of this world. Now is the judgment of this world. Now shall the prince of this world be cast out. And I, if I be lifted up from the earth, will draw all men unto me. This he said, signifying what death he should die. People answered him, we have heard out of the law of the Torah that Mashiach abideth forever. How sayest thou, the Son of Man must be lifted up? Who is the Son of Man? Then Yehoshua said unto them, Yet a little while it is light with you. Yet a little while is the light with you. Walk while ye have the light, lest darkness come upon you. For he that walketh in darkness knoweth not whither he goeth. While ye have light, believe in the light, that ye may be the children of the light. These things spake Yehoshua, and departed, and did hide himself from them. All right, so Mashiach said, where he be lifted up, he will draw all men, signifying his death. All right. So the death that he died, the blood that he shed, should draw us to him, because it's that death, it's that blood that was shed that redeems us. That in itself was the will of the Father. That was the sacrifice, the pure sacrifice, that if we believe on that, then we have access to everlasting life. We won't be condemned. And it's all through him. All right, so I want to lift up the Mashiach today. I want to kind of give a brief testimony of my belief and how I came to believe in the Mashiach as I do today. Growing up, I was pretty much brought up the same way as anybody else, in the South, those who are from the South. But even no matter where you are, if you one of us, we all relate. We all have similar upbringings. Me personally, I didn't really grow up close to my mother and father, but when I did live with my mother, one thing she did do was she took us to church a lot. So she prayed a lot. She went to church. She was real religious, but I ended up moving from her and living with my grandmother, from the time I was maybe in junior high or right before junior high, all the way up to high school. I lived with her and graduated high school living with her. So pretty typical upbringing, She believed in the Most High. She took us to church and everything. But, my grandmother worked a lot. And so I learned a lot from her through what she exemplified, as far as how she did things. She had a certain order, in how she did things, And so I kind of picked that up a little bit, but she worked a lot and she believed in the Most High. And her youngest son, my uncle, I kind of gravitated to him a lot. He was like my big brother. I really looked up to him. He was like one of the only men in my family that really showed me any kind of love, as far as showing it, you know what I mean? He was the one who taught me a lot. He even taught me to pray a lot, and I remember one time when I stayed out too late, and I didn't come back home when I was supposed to. He even chastised me, He chastised me, and then he sat me down and explained to me why he did what he did, and why I was wrong. And he punished me, and I took my punishment. And so he was a man, one of the men in my family, to say the least, that had my respect, Right now he's incarcerated. He some unfortunate things befell him, But a lot of what he showed me stuck with me, He used to do stuff like wake me up at 6 a.m. and pray and tell me stuff that he really couldn't tell other people. And I was young, but I didn't know whether to think he was crazy or what, but I just listened to him. You know, I didn't cast him off or feel like he was wrong or nothing. I just listened to him, you know, and a lot of what he taught me stuck with me. You know, we was taught about Jesus growing up, how Jesus died for our sins, and it's through him that we have everlasting life. You know, if you're anything like me, growing up in a black church, you don't really learn too many deep things in terms of the scripture and all of that. You just learn about Jesus, and then it's whatever sermon it is for that day, you know. So typical upbringing, you know. But I remember getting older, you know, once I got, I had already graduated high school, and I started going to college. I did a year or so in college, and then my oldest sister ended up losing her life. And so my family took that kind of hard because she left 3 daughters behind, you know. And so it was at that point that my life just started to change in a way that I didn't really ask for, you know. And I think in a lot of ways, it's a manhood thing, you know. It's a nature thing with men and women. Once you get to a certain point in your life, age-wise, it's certain things that change mentally and spiritually about you, you know. And it's all about growth. I think it is in a lot of ways, but it was happening. And I felt like, you know, something was happening and I didn't understand what was happening. But, you know, I was living my life, doing my thing still. I left school, you know, and went into the workforce, you know, started working, did that for some years, then went back to school, you know. But before I left, well, right after I left school and entered into the workforce, I started going through a lot of stuff mentally, you know. I started, you know, I was kind of, you know, doing things, worldly things still, you know, but I kind of felt like something was tugging me away. And I felt like it was a lot of questions that I had, and nobody really to talk to and answer my questions, because everybody that I would ask would give me basic answers, you know, basic stuff you would get from a Christian, basically. And it wasn't sufficing my spirit, because these are like stuff I heard all the time. And so I remember I had a little green Bible. You know, it wasn't a King James Bible, but it was a Bible. And I kept it with me, and I used that Bible all the time, you know. And I remember having that Bible, and I remember throwing it in the trash. Probably the most disrespectful thing I ever did in my life, you know. I threw the Bible in the trash. And so the Bible was in the trash. You know, I had a pattern in how I took my trash out. The Bible was in the trash for maybe like a day or so, but it was on my mind the whole time. And so before I took my trash out, I went and took the Bible out the trash, and I just put it on the desk, you know, when I took my trash out. A little while after that, I met a brother on my job who basically introduced me to the truth. And so, you know, using that same Bible, I went to that class, studied or whatever, and it was there that I learned that I'm an Israelite. I learned who we are. And so I learned about the Mashiach as well in a way that I wasn't taught in Christianity. You know, we weren't taught the true identity of the Mashiach. You know, we weren't taught that, you know, he came for his own, you know, and I'm really here within the recent few years just learning that. Because we just basically learned that he died for the sins, and anybody who believed on him can be saved. You know, this was what I was learning in the truth. However, I learned his true identity, him being an Israelite, and I learned also that he didn't just come on the scene in the New Testament. He was always on the scene in the Old Testament. You know, I learned that, you know, it was him the whole time when he said that no man has seen the Father or heard his voice at any time. When that scripture got pointed out to me, the first thing that I asked myself was, well, who was that in the Old Testament? You know, and so that's sort of what I want to establish tonight. All right, I want to start in the book of Colossians. Hold on one second. I'm gonna start in the book of Colossians. I'm gonna start at chapter 1. And I'm gonna start at verse 12. All right. Now, I'm gonna do something here. All right. This passage is going to be dealing with both the Father and the Son. All right. So as we read, whenever it deals with the Father, I'm going to highlight it in blue like that. All right. And whenever it deals with the Son, I'm going to highlight it in red. All right. So I'm going to start at verse 12. It says, giving thanks unto the Father, which hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who had delivered us from the power of darkness and hath translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son. All right, so I'm gonna highlight that in red. Giving thanks to the Father, who hath made us meet to be partakers of the inheritance of the saints in light, who had delivered us from the power of darkness and had translated us into the kingdom of his dear Son, in whom we have redemption, even the forgiveness of sins. All right. Yeah. Thank you. Verse 14. I'm gonna just highlight that whole verse because that's dealing with the Son, in whom we have redemption. All right, so if we have redemption through the Son, even the forgiveness of sins, all right, who is the image of the invisible Elohim. All right, Father, who is the image of the invisible Elohim. All right. The invisible Elohim is dealing with the Father, but this is talking about the Son, who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of every creature. All right. The firstborn of every creature. Why is it saying that? It's because when the Mashiach rose from the dead, the first thing he said, touch me not, for I have not ascended to my Father. Because Mashiach represents the sheaf offering, the wave offering. All right, right after the Passover, Mashiach was in the grave 3 days and 3 nights. All right. He rose from the grave. All right. After he rose from the grave, he had to go and be presented to the Father as a sheaf offering, or the wave offering, or the first fruits. That's why it says he's the firstborn of every creature. It says, for by him were all things created. For by him, speaking of the Son, who is the image of the invisible Elohim, the firstborn of every creature. For by him were all things created, that are in the heavens, that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. All right. And he is before all things, and by him all things consist. And he is the head of the body, the assembly. All right, Mashiach is the head of the body, the assembly, who is the beginning, the firstborn from the dead. Mashiach rose from the dead. But why is it calling him the firstborn from the dead? All right, we know that he rose Lazarus from the dead, but it said he's the firstborn from the dead, because once he rose from the dead, that was him raising up, never to die again, never to enter condemnation again. First fruits. Now he is eternal life. Eternal life is in him. Firstborn from the dead, that in all things he might have the preeminence. For it pleased the Father, that in him should all fullness dwell, and having made shalom through the blood of his cross, by him to reconcile all things, unto himself. By him, I say, whether they be things in the earth or things in heaven. All right. So what this passage is pretty much saying to me is that the Father is the one who appointed the Son to be heir over all things. All right. The Father is the invisible Elohim, and his Son is his image. So if the Father is invisible, it will make sense why he would say no man has seen the Father at any time, has seen his shape or heard his voice at any time. It will make sense why he said, if you've seen me, you've seen the Father, because he is the image of the invisible Elohim. All right. So let's go to John 1:3, because it said, it says all things were created by him and for him. All right. For by him were all things created that are in the heaven and that are in the earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him. Let's go to John 1. St. John 1. Start at verse 1. It says, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with Elohim, and the Word was Elohim. The same was in the beginning with Elohim. All things were made by him, and without him was not anything made that was made. All things were made by him who? Talking about the word. All right. So all things were made by him and for him, right? So by a show of one, who all agree that this is speaking of Mashiach? A show of one. If we all agree on that, put one in the chat. While y'all doing that, I'm gonna go to Isaiah chapter 44. Remember who made all things. Isaiah 44. I'm gonna start at verse 1. It says, "Yet now hear, O Yaakov, my servant, and Israel, whom I have chosen." All right. I'm gonna skip to 24. Isaiah 44 and 24. Colossians 1 and St. John's 1 tells us that Mashiach, or the Son, made all things. All things were made by him and for him. Isaiah 44, verse 24. Thus said Yahuwah, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am Yahuwah, that maketh all things, that stretch forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. All right. So in Colossians, we read that all things were made by him and for him. In St. John's, we read that all things were made by him. All right. And without him, nothing that's made will be made. Right here, we see that Yahuwah, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. So is this two different people? Or is this just referencing one person? It says, thus said Yahuwah, thy Redeemer, and he that formed thee from the womb. I am Yahuwah, that maketh all things, that stretcheth forth the heavens alone, that spreadeth abroad the earth by myself. All right. Let's go. Let me see. 43 and 1. Isaiah 43 and 1. But now thus said Yahuwah, that created thee, O Yaakov, and he that formed thee, O Israel. Fear not, for I have redeemed thee. Remember, Isaiah 46 tells us that the Most High calls those things that be not as though they are. This is Isaiah. Isaiah was in captivity, but the Most High is speaking through the prophet, saying he has redeemed Israel. It's already done. I have called thee by thy name. Thou art mine. Let's go to 45. Isaiah 45 and verse 4. For Yaakov, my servant's sake, and Israel, mine elect, I have even called thee by thy name. I have surnamed thee, though thou hast not known me. Why is the Most High saying Israel has not known him, when Israel only had a Most High known? All right. I think this is referencing, like most people, when Mashiach came in the flesh, they didn't know who he was. They didn't recognize him. In his flesh, they didn't, understand who he was in the flesh. But he's saying right here, I have surnamed you, though you have not known me. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else. There is no Elohim beside me. I girded thee, though thou hast not known me. Right? Israel knew the Most High, right? Why is he saying they haven't known him? Just like when Mashiach came in the flesh and he said, if you knew the Father, then you would know me. You know, you call the Father your Elohim, but he's the one that sent me, and you despise me. They that may know from the rising of the sun, that they may know from the rising of the sun and from the west, that there is none beside me. I am Yahuwah, and there is none else. I form the light and create darkness. I make peace and create evil. I, Yahuwah, do all these things. Drop down, ye heavens from above, and let the skies pour down righteousness. Let the earth open, and let them bring forth salvation, and let righteousness spring up together. I, Yahuwah, have created it. Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. How profound is this? Who will strive with the Most High? Woe unto him that striveth with his maker. Let the potsherd strive with the potsherds of the earth. Shall the clay say to him that fashioned it, what makest thou for thy work? He hath no hands. All right. Ain't this in essence what people say when they deny the one who made all things? Maybe it's because they don't know. Woe unto him that saith unto his father, what begettest thou? Or to the woman, what hast thou brought forth? Thus saith Yahuwah, the Holy One of Israel, and his Maker. Ask me of things to come concerning, my bad, I didn't mean to highlight that like that. Hold on. Ask me of things to come concerning my sons and concerning the work of my hands, command ye me. All right. He said, I have made the earth and created man upon it. I, even my hands, have stretched out the heavens, and all their hosts have I commanded. Right? Let's go St. John's again, chapter 1, and I'm going to read verses 10 and 11. Remember, we just read, he kept saying, I surnamed you even though you didn't know me, right? Woe to them that strive with his maker. Now watch this, St. John's 1 and 10. He was in the world, and the world was made by him, and the world knew him not. I surnamed you and fastened you, though you knew me not. He came unto his own, and his own received him not. All right. Let's go Genesis 1 and 5. Genesis chapter 1, verse 1 through 5. In the beginning, Elohim, God, if you look that word up, it's plural, created the heaven and the earth. As a matter of fact, of fact, hold on one second. Okay. Give me a moment. Okay, here we go. Now watch this. This is Strong's. All right. So I'm just gonna blow this portion up because this is all we need right here. Genesis 1, in the beginning, God. All right. So now, if we look up God, wait a minute, it's not showing on there, is it? Okay, yeah, there it is, my fault. In the beginning, God, this is not showing. So give me a second. It's a lot of screens and pop-ups. I gotta stop and reshare and all that good stuff. Okay, this is what I want. God. All right. In Genesis, the first chapter, Elohim, it says God's in the ordinary sense, but specifically used in the plural, thus especially with the article of supreme God, occasionally applied, let me just shrink that, occasionally applied by the difference to magistrates and sometimes a superlative. All right. So if we go down some more, let me blow this up. Elohim, noun masculine, and it says plural, rulers, judges, divine ones, angels, gods. Now watch this, look at this number 2. It says plural, intensive, but singular meaning. All right. So when you see Elohim in Genesis, it's plural intensive, meaning the intent is to express that there is more than one. However, the singular, it still has a singular meaning because these more than one are still one. And that's what we read in John, St. John's. The Father, the Son, and the Ruach HaKodesh are one. All right. So when we go back to Genesis, in the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, "Let there be light." All right. Now, why do I believe this is the Son speaking to the Father? All right. It's because when we go down to verse 26, it says, and Elohim said, "Let us make man in our image." And we already established who's creating everything. Mashiach said, "No man has seen the Father or heard his voice at any time." All right. And so he's here is telling the Father, "Let us make man in our image." All right. Let's go back to Isaiah 44. Isaiah 44 and verse 6. It says, "Thus said Yahuwah, King of Israel, and his Redeemer, Yahuwah of hosts, Thus saith Yahuwah, King of Israel, and his Redeemer, Yahuwah of hosts, I am the first, I am the last, and beside me there is no Elohim. All right. So how could there be no Elohim beside him, yet you see two, really three? It's because, like it said, it's plural intensive. So you have three who agree in one, three who are one in spirit. They're all one. Now, real quick, Isaiah 45, verse 8. No, I think I read that already. Proverbs 30. Proverbs 30, verse 4. As we know, the Mashiach is our Redeemer. All right. He redeemed us through his sacrifice. Who hath ascended up into heaven, or descended? Who hath gathered the wind in his fist? Who hath bound the waters in a garment? Who hath established all the ends of the earth? What is his name, and what is his son's name, as thou canst tell? All right. So with that, with those passages, what this does is this establishes who the Mashiach is. You know, it establishes the order, like how the Apostle Paul said that the Father is the head over the Mashiach, and Mashiach is the head of the man is the head of the woman. All right. Mashiach said, no man has seen the Father, only the Son has declared him. So what we would have to do is we would have to either eliminate that altogether, or we would have to establish it as true. And it's a whole lot of proof of Mashiach in the Old Testament, you know, before he came in the flesh. But since it's my first official live stream, I wanted to open up with lifting up the Mashiach and establishing myself and where I stand in terms of who the Mashiach is. You know, he's my Redeemer, he's my King, he's my Lord, he's my Elohim, you know, and it's through him that I honor the Father, because he is Lord to the glory of the Father. And so if we honor him, we honor the Father. All right. I want to share one more passage, then we're going to go to break and get ready to shut this down. Let me see. It's Revelations. Let me see if this is what I need. Let me see. Give me 1 second. I should know this off the top. I'm kind of embarrassed by this, but this is important. Okay, real quick. Revelations 3:20. It says, behold, I stand at the door and knock. If any man hear my voice and open the door, I will come in to him and will sup with him, and he with me. And to him that overcometh will I grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I am overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. He that have an ear, let him hear what the Spirit has said unto the assembly. So Mashiach is saying to whoever, to him that overcome, I'm going to grant to sit with me in my throne, even as I am overcame and am set down and am set down. All right. Even as I am overcame and am set down. So he's saying, I am sitting down with my Father in my Father's throne. But if you overcome, you're going to sit with me in my throne, just like I overcame and am set down with my Father in his throne. All right. So this falls in line with what we read in Colossians. It pleased the Father that the fullness of all things be placed in the Son, and that to him all the preeminence would be given to him. This was his inheritance, and Mashiach is saying that this is our inheritance. You know, I read the other day the covenants he made with the apostles, and I'm gonna read that again in the morning, Most High willing. But he's basically saying that he confirmed it in St. John 17. You know, he prayed for his apostles. He didn't pray for the world, but he didn't pray for them only. He prayed also for them who believe in him after their word. And this is why I want to bring out the Acts of the Holy Apostles, because this is stuff that's been left out. You know, it's a lot of blessings and promises given to us in their writings as well. So on that note, that's where I stand with the Mashiach, brothers and sisters. Like I said, I wanted to open up with my first official live stream dealing with the Mashiach and lifting up the Mashiach, you know, because that's the tone we want to set. He is the Redeemer. He is the one that we look to. He is the one that we worship the Father through. It's through him, you know. And so on that note, I hope you brothers and sisters was edified by that. I'm gonna take a break, and when we come back, I'm gonna hopefully get a few comments, testimonies. I'm gonna put the link here. I'll try to be brief so we can close out and get to the prayer, hopefully around 8:30 or so. But there's the link in the chat. Brothers and sisters want to chime in. Shalom and blessings. I'm gonna take a break and be right back. Shalom and blessings. Brothers and sisters, don't forget about Kingdom Conversations, Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Pacific, 9, 10 p.m. Eastern, depending on where you are. Hosted by Brother Cleo. All right. Also, in the morning, most high willing, 7 a.m. Central, 5 a.m. Pacific, 8, 9 a.m. Eastern. We're going to be reading the history, contendings, and martyrdom of St. Paul. All right. So if you brothers and sisters are up for that, feel free to join in. It's a good thing. Some brothers and sisters will be off, to give you something to do, something to fatten your brain with, especially in light of, like I said, what we've been dealing with, a lot of contention, dealing with the Apostle Paul and his writings, played a video dealing with the doctrine of the Nicolaitans, which is the doctrines of lawlessness, and how the writings of Apostle Paul used oftentimes to justify that position. And so we want to deal with that and solidify that for our brothers and sisters so that we could be strong and contending for the true faith. That's why we're bringing this out. Nobody's chimed in, so I'm going to go ahead and shut this down. I want to thank you, brothers and sisters, for your time. Also, once again, I want to thank everybody who's sent music so that we could share those things with the platform. We're getting everything organized and more, consistent so we can get a better rotation with that. But nonetheless, I want to thank a couple of brothers, Brother Smitty, Brother T. I want to thank the Sister Trust Cafe and Sister SCR for all the music and the tracks they send to keep us bobbing our heads while we fellowshipping, and anybody else who have anything they want to send, you can send that via email, saltoftheearth 144@gmail.com. You also have ebrestore@gmail.com. All right. Brother Kadar, you can use his email as well. I think his email is down right now, but I'm gonna check on him with that. But these are the emails. You can send those things to, for those brothers and sisters who want to share their gifts with the family. In closing, I want to thank my brothers at the Salt of the Earth, Brother Bunya, Brother Cleo, Brother Kadar. I want to say shalom and thank my brother Yash, my brother Hal Goodwin, contributing to the work. I want to thank all the brothers and sisters in the chat for chiming in and encouraging the work. If you like what we do, help us out and hit the like button and share on your own personal platforms. Feel free to do that as well. That'll be greatly appreciated. I want to say shalom and blessings to all the brothers and sisters out there who have platforms doing work for the Most High. Shout out to Brother Shofar, Jacob's People. I want to say shalom and shout out to Teo. And last but not least, once again, shout out to the chat. I want to give all praises to the Father, all praises to his Son, all praises to the Ruach HaKodesh. All right. Shalom and blessings. Be obedient, be encouraged, and be blessed. This has been a Salt of the Earth Productions. Hallelujah.
Everywhere I go, the children rising. Everywhere I go, the children rising. I saw them just rise up. The wicked running, I saw them just rise up.